Hi guys, my name is Alex and I'm going to talk to you about something that I used to spend hours doing. You may be wondering, what did you spend hours doing? When I was dealing with religious OCD, I was asking for reassurance literally all day. Like it was 24/7. I would be at school and something would come up. I would have a bad thought, or I would read something and a bad thought would pop up, something like that. And I would go and I would text my dad right away and say, I just had this thought. Does this make me a bad person? And every single time a religious thought came up, whether it was sexual, violent, or anything, I would pull out my phone and I would type all the thoughts that I had in the notes app. Guys, I did this every single day as the whole day went on, so I could remember the thoughts that I had so that I could later ask my dad for reassurance at the end of the day when I would hang out with him in person. And it's crazy to me that I did that, and that at the time I did not even realize that this was compulsive and that it was OCD, because I didn't really know what OCD was. And so I was doing this and I was having these thoughts, and I was constantly having obsessive thoughts that wouldn't go away, and it would make me so frustrated, and I would try to push them away or talk about them, hoping that would make it go away. And what do you know, it only made it worse. So I started struggling with this type of OCD when I was like 16 years old, and I had first become a Christian, and so everything became a trigger for me. Worship music, reading the Bible, scrolling on Instagram, all of it was a trigger, because if I saw something that triggered a bad thought, I would spiral about it all day. And I wish I could pull all these text messages that I had from my dad, but if I called him right now and I said to him, do you remember what I used to do in school all day when I would ask you reassurance? He would probably be like, yeah, you were blowing up my phone. And at the time, like, he has a job, he was working, and every 5 minutes I was texting him and I was saying, I had this thought, like, what if I'm going to hell? And I felt terrible looking back on it, because it's like he just wanted me to feel better, and he didn't know how OCD worked. So he didn't know that when he would reassure me that it was actually making the OCD worse. And I didn't know that either. And I didn't start exposure response prevention therapy until, until 2021. And this was in like 2014, 2015, or earlier than that. So I really just didn't know what to do, and I didn't know how to get better. And I remember I would scroll on the internet, I would go on to Reddit or like any kind of website forum where you could ask a question, and I would type in like a whole paragraph of all the thoughts that I was having, and I would be like, does this make me a bad person? Does this mean I'm going to hell? And I would constantly read all of the responses that people got me, and it would completely affect my day. If I got one response that was like, yeah, you did commit the unforgivable sin, or this is stupid, like, and this is why I'm not religious, like that was one thought, that one answer that I got, it would control my whole day. Like, it would just, like, it was not helping. The reassurance seeking, the asking on Reddit was not helping. It was only making the thoughts worse. They were only coming back stronger. And that's, looking back on it, after being in exposure response prevention treatment, I know why this was happening. Because when you have OCD, no matter what kind of OCD it is, the more that you give that thought attention, the more that it grows. OCD needs attention to survive. It cannot survive without your participation. It's something that I learned, and that I remind myself every single day when I'm dealing with some kind of OCD flare-up. But like I said, at this time, it was truly such a dark point in my life, and I wish I had exposure response prevention therapy then, but I just don't think that it was well known. This was still like kind of before OCD was even considered like a real mental health condition. Like, people were still throwing the word around. I mean, I know they still do today, but it was a lot worse when I was in high school. Like, I was so scared. I was so scared to tell anybody about my thoughts, because I thought they would think I was crazy. Like, there were times where I thought I was schizophrenic because I was having these thoughts and they wouldn't stop. And so, looking back, if I had this type of therapy, I know that I would have gotten better and it would have helped me so much. But I did what I could do in the moment, and I kind of did exposure therapy on myself. I would, I got so fed up with my own thoughts that I would be like, screw it, I don't care. I'm just gonna know what's in my heart, which is that I love God and that I'm still learning, I'm still growing, and it's okay if questions pop up. Not everything means that I'm a bad person. My thoughts don't mean I'm a bad person. And so, like I said, I kind of got so fed up with it that I just did exposure response prevention on myself without realizing it. And over time, it started to fade, and I got more confident in my faith, and so the thoughts started meaning less, and I didn't attach myself to them. And so as this happened, the reassurance seeking that I would ask my dad for, that I would text him all day when I was at school, it slowly started to fade, and he started to notice because I wasn't texting him all day. And like I said, looking back, I feel bad that I was taking up so much time of his day when he had his job, and work to worry about. But it really felt like the end of the world for me at the time. Like, if I didn't get that reassurance, then I was a bad person and I was going to hell, and I'd already decided that. So now, I think about if I had exposure response prevention, actual therapy, and I was working with a therapist, if I had that back then I know things would have been much, much easier, and that I would have gotten better, and I would have had, the right counselor and the right person helping me. But I can't go backwards, so all I can do, when I have some of these thoughts pop up today, I know what to do. I know to lean into uncertainty. I know to remember that my thoughts don't make me a bad person, and that my identity is not in my thoughts. And I know what I believe in my heart, and I know what's true. And I know what I believe. And when these thoughts come up, I don't have to give them attention anymore, because the more I give them attention, the more they're going to keep coming up. Mm-hmm. So if this sounds like you, go to NOCD.com, call the number on the screen, and they will help you get effective treatment for OCD. They know what they're talking about. They're trained specialists. If I had this type of therapy, I think I would have gotten better much, much sooner. So I hope this maybe helped someone to go to NOCD and give that number a call. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye.